May 26, 1944, the death of Christian Wirth. SS officer and one of the architects of Operation Reinhard, Christian Wirth was killed by Yugoslav partisans on May 26, 1944. He was 58 years old. Wirth was one of the Nazi Party's original members when he joined in 1923. After the party was outlawed for several years, following the beer hall putsch, he rejoined on January 1, 1930 as an Alterkampfer. Wirth joined the SS and rose in the ranks and became an officer on October of 1939. By the end of the year, Wirth was part of Action T4 euthanasia program, and he was the oldest officer to take part. He helped kill over 30 mental patients by tricking them into entering the gas chambers at the Brandenburg Euthanasia Center. Because of his work, Wirth was transferred to the Hartheim Killing Center and was chief officer staff and director of personnel. He was a strict superior who was feared by his co-workers and operated a very well-run facility. His co-worker and fellow scumbag, Franz Stangl, described him as gross and florid man and said, "My heart sank when I met him." He stayed at Hartheim for several days at that time and often came back. Whenever he was there, he addressed us daily at lunch. And here it was again, this awful verbal cruelty. When he spoke about the necessity of this Action T4, he was not speaking in humane or scientific terms the way a Dr. Werner at T4 had described it to me. He laughed. He spoke of doing away with useless mouths, and that sentimental slobber about such people made him puke. After the T4 program was dropped due to pressure from the Church of Germany, the Nazi Party was coming up with the final solution, and he left Poland to take part of Operation Reinhard. Operation Reinhard was named after SS officer and chief planner of the final solution, Reinhard Heydrich. He was attacked on May 27, 1942 by Czech assassins and died several days later. Wirth was sent to Belzec to set up their extermination camp and was more than willing to keep it running like a well-tuned watch. He ordered that the Jewish prisoners should be brought in and exterminated upon arrival in fast and efficient order, and the Jews should carry out all the physical work involved in the extermination process. Another horrible human being, SS officer Erich Fuchs, said that about Wirth. Police Captain Christian Wirth conducted the action in Bernburg. Subordinates to him were the burners, disinfectors, and drivers. He also supervised the transportation of the mentally ill and of corpses. One day in the winter of 1941, Wirth arranged a transportation to Poland. I was picked together with about 8 or 10 other men and transferred to Belzec. I don't remember the names of the others. Upon our arrival in Belzec, we met Friedel Schwartz and the other SS men, whose names I cannot remember. They supervised the construction of barracks that would serve as gas chambers. Wirth told us, "All the Jews will be struck down." For this purpose, barracks were built as gas chambers. I installed the shower heads in the gas chambers. The nozzles were not connected to any water pipes. They would serve as a camouflage for the gas chamber. For the Jews who were gassed, it would seem as if they were taken to baths for disinfection. SS leader Odilo Gobotnik was so impressed with Wirth's work at Belzec that he appointed him to oversee the death camps of Treblinka and Sobibor. SS officer and convicted war criminal Franz Scholmer said about Wirth, "From my activity in the camps of Treblinka and Sobibor, I remember that Wirth in brutality, meanness, and ruthlessness could not be surpassed. We therefore called him Christian the Terrible, or the Wild Christian. The Ukrainian guardsmen would call him Stulka. The brutality of Wirth was so great that I personally see it as a perversity. I remember particularly that on each occasion Wirth lashed out at the Ukrainian guardsmen with the whip he always carried. During the construction of Sobibor, he supervised the gassing of 25 Jewish prisoners and used the whip he carried on prisoners and guards alike. Wirth also saw the construction and organization of Treblinka, the last of Operation Reinhardt's camps. Franz Stangl spoke about Werner's tenure at Treblinka. To tell the truth, one did become used to it. They were cargo. I think it started the day I first saw the extermination area in Treblinka. I remember Wirth standing there next to pits full of black and blue corpses. It was nothing to do with humanity. It could not have. It was a mass of rotting flesh. Wirth said, "What shall we do with this garbage?" I think unconsciously, that started me thinking of them as cargo. Wirth was promoted to SS Major on May of 1943. After Operation Reinhardt ended, he was sent to Italy to oversee the construction of the Riserra di San Saba. Due to people like Christian Wirth, the Nazi Party considered them expendable and liabilities in case they were ever brought to trial, and many former death camp staff members were assigned to fight partisans, according to Franz Stangl. We were an embarrassment to our superiors. They wanted to find ways and means to incinerate us. Christian Wirth was killed by Yugoslav partisans while traveling in an open-top vehicle. Before he died, he was assigned to SS Task Force R on the deadly assignment of hunting Yugoslav partisans, the same ones that eventually terminated his existence.